Welcome to episode 9 of Pera's Playbook. Today we're joined by Kiera Parker, and funny enough, didn't do this on purpose, but our last guest had a connection to Ireland. She was born in Ireland, grew up in Ireland, ran Ireland track. Episode hasn't been posted yet, but now our guest is on the Ireland softball team. So we got two different connections to Ireland, two different sports, unintentionally planned back to back. But Kiera, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for
I'm pretty
having
good.
me.
Oh, of course. I'm a little concerned. The room I record podcasts in, I've had terrible mosquito problems with lately. There's not any in here right now, but I kid you not, I've been killing like 50 a night in this room. It's just awful. And I found the problem, so hopefully my landlord fixes it.
Oh,
And,
good.
I don't have to record podcasts living in paranoid. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about you and your career in sports. So we might as well start with the fact that you told me you grew up and soccer was your thing, but kind of a monkey wrench got thrown in there and you had to switch. You weren't allowed to play contact sports anymore. So maybe you can start by telling us about that, growing up playing one sport and then boom, life throws a curveball at you and you got to kind of reevaluate things.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely was tough because, I grew up playing soccer my whole life. I was always watching the Olympic team, and that was my goal was to play college soccer. And even in high school, going in, I knew that something was kind of going on with my body. I was diagnosed with endometriosis at the age of 14. It's just like a chronic illness in your uterus. And so knowing that I had that, it was going to be kind of tough balancing soccer because soccer is just so demanding physically for your body. And I think that I was doing pretty well trying to balance the two. But as I got older and the condition got a little worse, it was just hard playing contact sports, like especially with all of your body needs to be in such good shape in order to play soccer. And I was kind of starting to slow down. I had to take so much time off because of the condition I was diagnosed with. And while I was taking time off and not training, all of the other girls were just continuing to be in peak condition and get recruited. And I just kind of started to feel myself being slower and not playing as well as I was in my peak. And that was kind of the decision for me to make to just switch from a contact sport to a non-contact. It was just my body just couldn't keep up with the conditions. And then unfortunately, I also started to have kidney problems. So between the two, I just thought that it was best to stop playing contact sports and all.
So had you played softball at all growing up, or were you just like, I need a non-contact sport, so I'm gonna try softball for the first time?
Yeah. I played softball growing up a bit. My brother was pretty good at baseball, so I kind of grew up on the baseball fields, playing with him. And my dad taught me when I was younger. It wasn't anything I really took seriously. It was more of a hobby for me. And then once junior year of high school came around, I decided that I would stop doing club soccer and pick up club softball. And I was like, well, I know I want to play a college sport. I don't really know what sport, but I want to play one. So if I pick up softball, it might not be too late. So I played kind of like rec leagues and just played as a kid, but I never played competitively until I was like a junior in high school.
It's pretty hard to start. Obviously you'd said you'd played before, but start playing it more seriously and competitively a junior in high school. That's usually like peak recruiting time to like start getting your name out there. It's not completely uncommon for people to start sports late. I know at Michigan Tech, the quarterback there, he didn't start till he was a junior or a senior, and then he ended up, going to play Division II football. So stuff, like that happens where people kind of don't get their shot in high school till a little bit later, and they can still make it work. But it's obviously more difficult, and you know that because you kind of join the recruiting party a little bit late. You don't have those extra years of development and highlights and all that stuff that can help in the recruiting game.
Yeah, absolutely. I got kind of lucky that I just fell in love with the sport right when I joined. So the hard work kind of came naturally just because I loved playing so much. And I knew I started looking for club teams in the area that I could try out for that I knew had exposure to Division 3 schools. And I found Central Mass Thunder, this great program, and their coach basically told me, "Yeah, you can try out, you can join. We have pretty good exposure, and if you work hard, we'll put you in the lineup and try to get your name out there." And that's what happened. So I got really lucky that I met the coach for Central Mass, and luckily I had a pretty good recruiting season. Got my name out there, and yeah, that's kind of what led me into Stevenson.
Yeah. I mean, it's the best when all the pieces of the puzzle kind of just fall into place, obviously it doesn't always work out perfectly, but it sounds like for you, I'm sure initially you were pretty bummed or let down that you had to give up soccer if that was kind of your main sport that you devoted all your time to. So initially things might have looked kind of glum, or it's a hard transition, but obviously it's worked out so far.
Right, yeah.
You've had success playing softball, which we'll get into later on with the different areas that you've played softball and different levels you've played. But we'll start with the D3. So you went to Stevenson, and I was reading what you had sent me, and you sound like you had some pretty nasty facial injuries that was another setback. So maybe you could kind of tell us how the injuries occurred, and then we'll
Yeah.
go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just another kind of unlucky little
Yeah.
setback. Um, but yeah, so I started with Stevenson, and so it's down in Maryland, and I live in Boston, so it's about a 7.5, 8 hour drive from me. Which my parents, just with my kind of like medical history, were a little nervous about. Um, and so I got to Stevenson, and I instantly like fell in love with the team. They were awesome. But we went on our spring break trip in Myrtle Beach, which was kind of like our, spring break trips for the kickoff of your season. And you really get to see how everybody plays. And it's just a great time to test things out. And the sun was unfortunately in my eyes. It was like a 7 p.m. game. And I got hit in the face. And I fractured my eye socket, had a pretty bad concussion, and I needed 8 stitches in my lip. So it was pretty tough. The doctor said I would be out for about 2 months. So by the time that I would have come back, and as a freshman, hadn't even really put my name out there yet. I hadn't even had like a chance to develop myself as a player and show my coach how I played. So I didn't really know if I was going to get playing time as it was. But then knowing that it would be about 2 months until I could get back on the field again, I just decided to redshirt, and luckily get my NCAA year of eligibility back. And yeah, I think that was a little difficult to kind of go through. My teammates were awesome, and it was great having them there. But just between like the face injury and the kidney and the endometriosis and kind of all of the stuff that I've been going through, I think it was just the best idea for me and my family to try and transfer somewhere closer to home. I also had surgery last January of 2022. So just between that was the surgery for my kidney in 2022 January was right before I got hit in the face. So it kind of all just was like 3-4 months of just straight like injury. So it kind of led into the like transferring process.
Was it pretty hard to deal with all of this mentally?
Yeah, absolutely. It's even like emotional, like kind of talking about, just because um it was just took kind of like such a mental toll on me and my body, and like watching my teammates and everybody else just kind of like, it took me back to my soccer years and watching everybody just progress while I was like on bed rest, or just kind of like couldn't lift because I could like burst something, or like just couldn't do like the littlest of things. I had such a drive to want to like be just as good as my teammates, and like just kind of the thought process of like getting worse while everybody's getting better was just really, really hard for me to like to realize and process. But yeah, it all kind of worked out.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's always hard to think about, and you don't want bad things to happen, but sometimes they happen and they end up leading to something good. They open a door that you would have never thought to open. You
Absolutely.
know, that horrible thing, that injury that you never want to go through. If that would have never happened, you would have never maybe ended up where you are right now. So
Absolutely.
as much as they're hard, they're emotional, they're mentally straining, um they can lead to good things, and you really don't realize it until you look back. When it's all happening, it just feels like the worst possible luck you could be having. And it sometimes, especially in like your case, it's got to feel like somebody's trying to tell you to stop playing, or like you're like one after another thing after thing is just getting in my way. But a new door opens, and you get better opportunities, and you've had some pretty neat opportunities with your softball career. I guess I don't know the timeline with the transfer and then the Team Ireland stuff. Which happened first?
Team, well, the
Kind of the
I
same
kind
time, or?
yeah, kind of like the same time. So, January is when I tried out for Team Ireland, January of 2022. Um, and a little bit after that, like I think it was around February is when I got injured. But in January, I also had that surgery that I just mentioned earlier, on my kidneys. That was actually, I had the surgery 2 days before Team Ireland tryouts. And so I kind of like had, after that big surgery, I kind of had an idea of wanting to go back home, just because I had been rushed to the hospital back in Baltimore. It was just so hard for my parents to come down, and it was just kind of a rough time, being so far from them and in the hospital at the same time. So that idea of transferring was kind of in the back of my head, and then I actually met a girl from St. Michael softball at Team Ireland tryouts. She is our pitcher. Her name is Jenna. She's awesome, and she ended up telling me at Team Ireland tryouts that St. Mike's was looking for more like utility players. And so then I had that in the back of my head as well, kind of just knowing that there was maybe somewhere else a lot closer to home, that I could keep in mind as well. And then I went back to Maryland, and like that second injury happened, the face injury. So that I kind of just confirmed it, like, okay, I am definitely injury prone, so I should be a little closer to home so I don't give my parents another heart attack.
It sounds like you had a lot of things on your mind. But I want to back up here a little bit just to kind of get some perspective on the Team Ireland and how you ended up, going in that direction. Do you have a lot of Irish heritage? I with a lot of those teams, you have to have a certain percentage or different things to even be able to try to go on their team. So I guess tell us a little bit about that, just for some background perspective.
Yeah, yeah. So my mom was born and raised in Dublin. My entire family is over there. My grandma, my uncles. My mom is one of 10, so all of her siblings are over there. And then my grandma is was born one of 18, is one of 16 now. So my family is just absolutely massive. They're all kind of just scattered around the UK. And so actually during COVID, I really started to connect with my mom's side of the family. Um, I started wondering about them more and realizing that I kind of have gone my whole life without really getting to know any of them. We tried to get over as much as we could, but my grandma struggles with her own health issues, so it's kind of hard for her to travel alone to come over to the US. So it's just safer if she's over there. So during COVID, I kind of started connecting with my mom's side of the family more and getting to know her heritage and her roots. And she just grew up in such a different environment than how I grew up. And it was just so interesting to me. So getting to know my family members a little bit better just kind of made me want to represent them in some way. And that's kind of where I realized, well, softball, maybe that's how I can represent them in a way, that I can. And So softball kind of played a role in it, and I knew that Team Ireland was becoming bigger, and the softball team was becoming bigger over there. So I reached out to the coach, and that's kind of where everything started.
Yeah, I guess softball is not the sport I think of when I think of Ireland.
Yeah,
It's
you're
I
not the
think
only
of
one.
I think of, rugby or something else, something that you see on the world stage, like, oh my, Ireland's competing for the top spot or they're one of the best or different sports. Last guess, like I said, was a track runner. And Ireland on the track scene, it's pretty much you only think of distance runners and like good distance runners. And she's a
Yeah,
jumper, so two athletes, both with Irish ties, but both in sports that necessarily aren't mainstream in Ireland, but seem to be growing. And, I think where you placed in the European Championships kind of shows that Ireland maybe is more of a softball country than people might think. I mean, we can have you talk about the European Championships, but you said you got seventh out of 18 teams. Was it just teams across Europe?
yeah, absolutely. Um, Coming in seventh, I think was, we as a team always want more. We wanted top six so bad. We had a tough game against Germany, but you know, we took it with a grain of salt. And seventh for a team that wasn't as big as like what you said, when you think of Ireland, softball isn't the first thing. Even my mom was like, whoa, like we have a softball team. And I was like, yeah, you have
I
a softball team.
yeah, I didn't know there was
She
one until I
yeah,
saw.
she's
Yeah.
like she's a runner as well. She's run a few marathons. Like she's amazing, but she like played rugby and ran growing up. So she as well was like, wow, that's awesome. So it's definitely something that's growing
Yeah.
over there in Ireland.
Can I
But
interrupt you
yes.
quick for a
Oh
sec?
yeah,
Ask a question. Um, with like you mentioned there was another girl on St. Mike's. All these other girls on the Ireland team. I mean, are they girls from the US playing college? Or are they girls born and raised in Ireland who have only been playing softball in Ireland?
yeah. So there's a mix of both. I think when the team started out, there was more of a US. Most of us were from the US just because that's, we have like the NCAA and programs that have us playing our whole lives. But in the past few years, the coaches have been doing just such an amazing job of getting the word out there that softball is becoming a bigger thing in Ireland. So we have been able to add girls that live, born and raised in Ireland, play on the teams as well, which is great. So definitely a little bit of both for sure.
Okay. All right, I'll let you continue on with the European Championships.
Yeah, thanks. But yeah, so we came in seventh. I definitely think that that was huge. Just something that could just, top 10, get our name out there.
Yeah.
You know, kind of get eyes from the government that like this is the Irish government. This is something that we're passionate in, something that's becoming bigger, and just getting the word out to girls that live in Ireland as well. Like what you said, with how there's like a lot of the US players are playing in Ireland, but we also want it to be more of an Irish thing in general, like just to get the word out there. And baseball has always been fairly big in Ireland, so kind of having softball become equivalent to baseball has been big as well.
So, kind of going off of the seventh out of 18, different countries. Obviously, there's a lot of countries that are bigger than Ireland in Europe, countries that just have maybe more of an athletic presence across the board. There's obviously sports that Ireland really doesn't carry that other countries do. So other countries have more resources when it comes to athletics. Did you see a lot of, you know, nationally born, born in that country, or the same thing? There's girls who play in college from the US on these other European teams that you're competing with.
Yeah, definitely. I think we did see a mix of both. Like there's like a country like Slovakia who has pretty much all nationals just born and raised in Slovakia. But then you have countries more like Italy or like Great Britain that you see more of in the US. And so teams like that kind of have a little bit of both as well, just like how Ireland's doing. So it's definitely something that depends on the country. But I think all of the countries have eyes, I guess, on some US players.
So maybe this is a stupid question that I should have read
No,
about, but
no.
was this like U20s or U23 or something like that? Or was it just straight up European championships, like not age limits?
Yeah. So this was U22. So as for Ireland, we have two teams, or well, we have more now, but at the time we had U22 and then the women's team. So I was in the U22 European Championships, the
So
games.
when's the age cutoff to like take the step up to the women's national team?
Yeah, so I will be 20 in August, this August. So I have 2 years left of training until the step up would come, but that's definitely a future goal of mine is to make that transition. I know
So
that there
once
are
you
some call-ups as well, so
okay, that so you don't have to be 22 to play on the women's national team, but
correct.
you can't be older than 22 and be on the U team.
Yep, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So you think there's a bright future for Ireland softball? I mean, there's been a lot of growth, like you've said, in the last couple of years. It's the fact that there's more teams, there's more interest in Ireland. So do you think it's just going to keep going up from here?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have a U18 team this summer that's playing in the World Cup. We are just it's awesome to see what the coaches are turning this organization into is just it's so great to see, especially being there from like kind of early and just watching the development kind of take place. Just going to we have training camps every winter and going to the training camps and seeing all of these new faces and new girls that are just so excited to try out. It's a really great thing to see. Just caring so much about the country and the coaches and the organization. It's just amazing watching them just take the program and turn it into something big. And we're actually hosting the World Cup this summer in Balbriggan, Ireland, and they are building a whole new stadium. It's great to see that they're really taking it seriously, and the
Yeah.
stadium will be used next summer for the European Championships as well.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
yeah, we get to host 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I just realized how stupid of a question that was to ask when the cutoff for U22s is, because it's,
Okay.
22.
That's
once
fine.
once in a while on these podcasts, I have the biggest brain farts, and I just cannot think at all. I had one on my hockey podcast the other day that I still just can't believe. Like, I sounded so dumb. If anyone
No.
was listening to some of these, they're going to be like, this guy doesn't know anything about sports. He shouldn't have a podcast. Which I don't know a lot about some of these sports. That's why I want to have certain guests on. Like, I watch softball once in a while if it's on TV, but I wouldn't say I could tell you the rules. Like
That's okay. It's pretty easy
uh
to pick up, so
played slow pitch church league softball, but that's that's
yeah,
that's
definitely
my
a little different.
experience. Yeah, exactly. Um, definitely a lot different. So now that you're at St. Mike's, you said that you have had some shoulder issues that you've been battling, just another thing on the list.
Right.
So how have you been going through those? Has it been keeping you out fully, or it's just been something kind of on and off that you've been dealing with?
It's definitely been a little on and off. I mean, it's something that's always, I think, going to be there. I think it's just like having MRIs and having X-rays done on it. It's just a matter of overuse. But thinking about like taking a break and not using my arm just makes me angry. So I like it's kind of like a battle with myself, it's just knowing that rest is something that's going to help my arm, but at the same time, rest is the last thing that I want to be doing. So
Yeah.
PT and my athletic trainer at St. Mike's is like the best person in the world. So working with her multiple times a week and kind of like being on a strict program and following that with band work and cupping therapy and all of the above. It's just anything that can help. I'm trying to do, but it's definitely I think progressed this season. At the beginning of the season, it was hard for me to even throw the ball from the outfield to home on the line. It was really difficult to do without being in excruciating pain. But now I have been going to PT and taking it really seriously. Um, it's definitely been able to see like some development with that. So
Yeah, well, it's good that you're making progress with that.
yeah,
Um, and with that, now that you've kind of found a new home, you're closer to home, you've got the Ireland stuff going on. Do you have any goals for yourself for the future of your softball career?
yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to Ireland, I think just eventually hoping to take that step up with the women's team. And we have the European Championships that we'll be hosting in Dublin next summer of 2024. And just having my family like go and see me play is just something that I know I'll never be able to forget. So I think that just to be able to play next summer would just be absolutely amazing. So that's definitely a big goal. And with St. Mike's, just being a leader on and off the field is something that I've always wanted to do. And just being in such a great environment at St. Mike's, it all comes naturally. Just having so much fun on the team, and I just really enjoy playing, and it's a great place to be. So I think just as for goals, just staying at St. Mike's, playing the best that I possibly can, and staying healthy for sure is a big goal as well.
Yeah, right. I can imagine with your history that'd be at the
Yeah,
top of the list.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. It's
are
yeah,
you
something I
also on
can't really
the
control, but
are you also on the golf team? Is that what I
no,
read in the
not at St.
bio?
Mike's. I was at Stevenson. Yeah, I did play
Okay.
women's golf team at Stevenson
All right.
in the fall, and then the spring I was with softball. And then the injury happened and everything. But
Yeah,
yeah, so
right.
I played golf in the fall at Stevenson, but with St. Mike's, I just decided to stick with softball and with Team Ireland and everything. I think it was a lot to be
Right.
consistent. You know, with golf, it's like you really have to stay consistent and play a lot in order to.
Yeah. Right. Keep your game up and like
Exactly, yeah. So I think with everything going on, I stepped away from golf for a little bit, but my dad is a golf pro, so I can play with him like whenever, which is great. And
yeah, I was
I
gonna
still
bring that
play all
up.
the time. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
play all the time with him, so it's a win-win.
right. I knew I read it in one of your bios. I couldn't remember which one, which team you knew you golf somewhere.
Yes,
Um,
Stevenson. Yep, yep.
so was golf just huge in your family growing up then with your dad being
Oh
a
yeah,
golf pro?
yeah. And he always thought that I could play in college. It was just something that I grew up playing just because of him. But he never pressured me into doing just golf, although it was like it was like music to his ears to tell him that I was going to be playing in college. He was so happy to hear. He is just like my biggest supporter. Him and my mom, like they were just happy with anything I was going to do. You know, it was great having them support me with that big switch from soccer to softball, and um, golf not being a contact sport was also something that I knew I was going to take a little bit more seriously as well once I quit soccer. And especially because golf is a fall sport, just like softball, just like soccer is. Um, Not playing soccer my senior year of high school, I played golf, and that's when I really fell in love with the game and knew I wanted to give it a shot in college as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's something I feel like that's a good sport though. If you can play with your dad, you can focus on softball and then you can just play golf to kind of relax. You don't have to take it as seriously and stress about it along with softball. You can just kind of play it for leisure with your dad and that's kind of a
Exactly.
good balance to have.
Yeah, and they're both just like, I mean, I think every sport is tough mentally, but with golf and softball, like they're both really, really tough mentally. And kind of having to like struggle in both and the health and just falling back and everything. It was just a better decision, I think, to just stick with softball. But like you said, I think golf is something I'll always have. I'm trying to pressure my dad into playing on the senior tour, and that would just be something that I can like help him train for and
Yeah.
have, maybe caddy.
Yeah,
Always
there you
gonna
go.
have it. Yeah, yeah,
That'd be cool, definitely.
yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about Ireland a little bit. Were you just in Ireland?
I was, yes, I was back for a wedding. I
How
got to
exciting.
see all of the cousins, all of the uncles, all the aunties, just, I think I saw like hundreds of family members when I was back this past week, which it was just amazing to see everyone. I haven't been back since before COVID, so it was really, really great to just see everyone.
So what part of Ireland is your family mainly in, or are they spread out all over?
Kind of all over now. So most of them are in Ballyfermot, which is right near Dublin. That's where my whole family grew up. We have some cousins that are in the UK, some that are just scattered throughout Ireland. But for the wedding, everybody met up in Meath, and that's where we just got to like spend the week, and it was really great to see everyone.
So in all your trips over to Ireland, have you traveled around the whole country?
Actually, no, I've only been to Dublin before this trip. So my mom wanted to make it a point to take me kind of around this past week just because she grew up going everywhere. They grew up like living in Ballyfermot, but living in the country, she just got to go everywhere. It's not too hard to go around and like see the whole country because it's pretty small. So she wanted to make sure that I got to see more places that she experienced growing up. So we went to Donegal for a bit, which was just amazing. It was absolutely beautiful there. And then like I said, Meath for the Ireland for the wedding, sorry, is somewhere where we got to see as well. So
Yeah. Ireland is a just absolutely beautiful country. I mean, it's so gorgeous to see. I
yeah,
was lucky enough to go in high school. Our school had a travel club that you could fundraise for, and we went to England, Ireland, and Wales. So I was lucky enough to go to Ireland when I was in high school, and it was
yeah,
amazing. I'd love to go back. Love to go
yeah,
back.
yeah, that's awesome. I know I try to tell people like you have to go. It's like the beauty, you can just talk about it and talk about it, but until you
Oh
see it,
yeah.
it's just like it's so different being there in person. And it was so great to see.
And I feel like Ireland isn't necessarily a place in Europe people talk about going for the beauty. Like it kind of gets
Yeah,
overlooked, which is a shame. Like
absolutely.
I feel like a lot of people they go to Ireland because they want to see the culture and the music and the beer, the food and all that kind of stuff, but nobody like talks about the scenic beauty.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
it's really like along the coast and in the countryside. It's just fantastic. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Absolutely.
and then Dublin is so much better than like London. I mean, it's like big,
Thank you. Thank you for
it's
saying that.
big, but it's small enough where it's not a dirty, rotten mess.
No, it's really amazing. Like we spent the last night in Dublin, and I'm old enough now where I can go out and explore on my own and see Dublin, because last time I was in Dublin, I think I was like 14. So I was kind of still on a little bit of a leash while we were there,
Yeah,
but now it was just so different being able to just really explore like where my mom grew up and where my family is. And it's just the people there are just it was just electric being there. It was just amazing.
yeah. I'd love to go back being older now.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that Dublin has to have an awesome nightlife. Like
It is like the best.
it's got to be fantastic, but
It's amazing. Like we were staying in a hotel, um, right in like the central of like where all of the bars are. And I don't think we were in the hotel like with our windows shut and everything, but we still would like could not fall asleep until 5 a.m. because everybody outside was just still going all night.
they're just having a good time.
It was great. It really was.
Yeah, yeah. That's even though I've already been there, it's at one of the top of my list of like European countries to go to, just because I want
Yeah.
to. I feel like as when you're the younger you are, the less you appreciate things. I mean, I've always gonna have the memories and pictures and the experiences, but I feel like when you return somewhere and you're like, wow, I really didn't appreciate this when I was a lot younger. So
Yeah.
hopefully someday I get the opportunity to go back. I think it would be awesome to return and to, spend some time in the countryside and then time in Dublin as well. Because it's an awesome city. I mean, there's so much to explore. And being on like a tour with a class trip, you're kind of just like following the lead. You don't
Limited.
really, you can't
Yeah.
venture off too much. there were a few times where we were like, you've got some time, and we just kind of like wandered off, which I'm surprised they just let us, wander around in a big foreign city, but
Yeah.
it's still not the same. You got a couple hours to kill, opposed to you go on your own trip, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, yeah, and like Ireland's just amazing. You have the nightlife, and then there's shops, and there's
Oh yeah.
scenic views like right outside of Dublin. It really has everything to offer. It's great.
What is that street that you it can't drive on? That's just like full of shops and
Grafton,
rest. Yeah,
Grafton Street.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that is a really cool spot
yeah.
to just walk. People, street music and restaurants and stores, and really awesome, cool spot to check
Oh,
out.
it's just amazing. I love it. I want to go back so bad and maybe study abroad, or I don't know, figure
Yeah,
something out where I can just be there for a little longer than a week.
yeah. And then going into the country, life seems so simple and like not the busy hustle and bustle and stress of
Oh yeah, absolutely.
like the
So laid
regular
back.
world. It's like
Mhm.
a step back in time in some aspects. And I knock London all the time, but I have no desire to ever go back to London. Like really didn't like, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff, Big Ben and different things, but like overall, I just didn't like the city as much
Right.
as like Dublin. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
That
absolutely.
it's weird, and you know, I feel like there's so many other places in Europe that I'd want to go before going back to London. But like Dublin or Ireland, I've been there and I want to go. So I guess what does that tell you about Ireland? It tells you that's pretty great because I want to return and I don't want to return to London.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Have
It
you
really is just a special place.
have you been on the Dart, and the train system there in Dublin?
I don't think I have. We didn't this past week. We do take like the double decker buses, which I loved
Okay.
picking up every time. Every time we would go when I was younger, I would just be like begging my parents if we could just go on a double decker. I don't really know why. I think it's just because it's literally two buses in one stacked on top of each other. Something about that has just always been really like cool and unique to me. So anytime we do like public transportation,
Yeah.
just beg them to take the double deckers.
Yeah. Well, I guess I was just gonna say the Dart is like so much cleaner and nicer than like the Tube in London. Like that's just
Yeah, no, my
dirty and
mom has said
nasty,
that. Yeah,
messy.
the dart's
And the
nice. Yeah,
Dart is like
absolutely.
really nice, for like a city train. Like it's a lot. But I think that kind of Dublin as a whole, the city's a little bit cleaner because it's smaller and like,
Yeah, and the people just care. They care so much
yeah.
about their space and their peers, and it's amazing.
I think that's kind of speaks for Ireland in people as a whole across the country, and how welcoming they are and how much, like you said, they care, and they're passionate about their culture and their home, and it really speaks to just Irish people in general.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's another reason why I'm so glad that like sports are becoming bigger now. Like the women's soccer team made the World Cup for I think the first time. And seeing the way that the Irish people have responded to that is just amazing to see. And it's just like gives me so much motivation with Team Ireland softball in general, just to do well. And the fact that we're building that stadium in Balbriggan, I'm just so excited to see the fans show up and the amount of like love and support. We already know that we're just gonna get so much love from the people.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it's
for
it's really
sure.
exciting.
Yeah. So, a few more things we'll just touch on here quickly, but like what are your hobbies? What do you like to do for fun?
Oh, a few things. So
Good.
yeah, I've got a few different hobbies. Real estate is actually one of them that I just picked up this summer, actually. I have a job in real estate and I've been loving it. It's really, really fun. And I'm someone that doesn't really like to sit for too many hours at once. And with real estate, like we have showings and we're meeting with clients, and it's just doesn't really feel like a job. It's like I'm just up and about and showing apartments and driving all around Boston, and it's been really exciting lately. So it's definitely a new hobby.
Yeah, that is exciting. And if it's a job and it doesn't feel like a job, that's
It's a
the
win.
best. Right, exactly. You
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
love what you do. You don't want to hate having to go to work because then it just kind of drags life down.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm working on getting my license right now, my Massachusetts real estate license. So that's gonna be huge once I hopefully pass that test.
Yeah, well, good luck with that.
Thank you. But I also love to golf, like we said earlier as
Right.
well. So it's a big hobby, and just joining my family and going out and playing all together is so fun.
So do you like music? Are you a big music person? I know some people are like, not really. And then there's other
Yeah,
people who are like, I can't be in silence.
no, I would say so. Like every time I'm driving, I definitely have a few different playlists that I alternate. Like I feel like I'm not one genre, kind of all over the place. But yeah, I do love music.
So what are you listening to? You said you're all over the place, but are you actually all over the place?
Oh,
Or
I am, I'm telling you. I so I've got like country on one playlist, like just a country playlist, but then I'm kind of getting into like indie music, like the Lumineers,
okay,
and
yeah,
Camp. Like they're so good. So kind of them as well, which is a little different from country. And then
yeah,
there's always that like gym playlist, which is just like straight rap music. Just
yeah.
put the headphones in, and I don't really
I
know what they're
never
saying.
never
Just bump
understood
to
that.
it.
I can't work
Really?
out to rap. Can't do it.
Oh, I feel like it's so like up paced and fast that
I need some like death metal or something to like
okay,
somebody
yeah,
is screaming into the microphone, pushing you
I can see that.
forward.
I can see that. That's a fair point.
So what are your thoughts on like metal? You said you're all over the place, but a lot of people who say they're all over the place, like I haven't found somebody who's like, yeah, I like metal and well, I mean, I do. Like I will listen to classical music, I'll listen to pop, metal, country. I am like
Okay, so you're all over the place.
yeah. But see,
Okay.
like people are like, okay, I like pop, I like country, I like rap, and then I'm like, well, do you like metal? And they're like, no.
I mean, I wouldn't say I don't like metal. Like I actually went to Boston Calling last year and Metallica was playing. So
Oh,
I
wow.
got to see them. So maybe I am a little bit like
That's better than anyone I've seen.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take
Yeah.
it.
No, that's pretty
I
cool.
didn't
I'm going
know they
to,
were playing, but
yeah. Yeah, well, that would be, I mean, that'd be a big surprise if I walked somewhere or like, like, oh, wow, Metallica's playing. Like, that'd be awesome.
it was crazy. I somehow got like there were thousands and thousands of people at the concert, and
Yeah.
somehow my friend and I got pushed to the very front, and there were like 40,000 people behind us, and we couldn't move because we are right at the very front. So I got to
Yeah.
experience a Metallica concert like in the front row.
Yeah. Did you get stuck in a mosh pit?
I did. It was actually pretty frightening.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Good
I'm going to
experience though.
a metal concert at the end of July, but I'm gonna be way in the back, so I don't have to worry about a mosh pit or or anything. I don't want to deal with that. I just,
Yeah, that's the smart way to do it. I did not know what I
yeah.
was getting into.
So I like to ask people this question because I just think it's kind of fun or funny. But if you had to do karaoke for your friends at like a bar or a party or something, but you got to pick the song, what would your go-to song be?
Go-to song.
Yeah, what would
I
you
think
pick?
I feel like by heart, anything by Taylor Swift, I would just automatically
Oh yeah,
know. Like if I need to
yeah.
know the lyrics, it would be like any old song by Taylor Swift. Like
Okay,
anything off of her Speak Now album, I think I would just be able to like recite backwards. But
that's
definitely,
respectable.
yeah, I think she would be my like go-to for karaoke.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good answer.
I have a terrible voice though, so you would never ever catch me doing karaoke.
But see, the thing is, it would be a dare. You'd lose a bet or something, and you'd have to do it. So
Exactly,
it doesn't
exactly.
matter if you have a good voice or not. Maybe you see, like me too. Like I don't know. I'm a pretty outgoing guy. But I also, on that same note, it would take a few drinks before I would just climb up there and do karaoke. So like I'm outgoing, but I'd rather sing to myself than a whole crowd of people.
Yeah, I would not do it voluntarily, that's for sure.
Yeah, late in the night, lost a bet. I guess I'll have to do it, but All right, so last question, kind of a random one, but it's always just kind of fun or interesting to see what people say. If they made a movie about your life and you got to pick who played you, who would you want to play yourself?
That is a good one. I was thinking about this. I think I think my favorite actress right now, I don't know if you know who Sadie Sink is. She's awesome. She is in, have you seen Stranger Things?
Okay.
Stranger Things. She's like one of the main characters in Stranger Things. She plays Max. She is so
Oh, okay.
cool. She's like young,
Yeah.
she has red hair. I feel like I would want her
Yeah.
to play me. She's just awesome. And I think, well, I wouldn't know if she'd do a good job because I'm kind of crazy, but she must do. She's
Well,
awesome.
she's
So.
kind of crazy at times in Stranger Things, so I think she can do the
Yeah,
crazy vibe.
yeah,
Just give her a
I think
blonde wig or dye her hair blonde, and there you go. Like, can she play softball? That's the question.
yeah, exactly. So
Right.
I think I would choose her. She's awesome.
That's good. That's unique. I like a unique
Would you
answer.
choose?
Yeah. Oh, geez.
Throwing you on the spot.
I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Oh, Alexander Ludwig.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't know. I guess they just pick him because he's blonde and I like him as an actor. Like, I don't know. I feel like he could do a good job. I think he's a really good actor. Like, I think he got much better at acting after the Hunger Games. Like, I'm not knocking his Hunger Games acting, but that's just like, but
That's like
then
where he
like
kind of like started out. Yeah, yeah.
right, but like watching him in like Vikings, that TV show, like I think he was just it kind of that's where he burst into a new element of acting. And he's blonde, so you wouldn't have to wear a wig. You wouldn't have to, you know, he,
Easy. Yeah,
he looks
yeah.
close enough, He actually looks much better, so that'd be a great, that's what you got to do too in these movies. You see the movie and they'll like at the end of the movie they show pictures of the real people if it's like a true story and you're like, wow, the actor looks so much better than the real person.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
you know, like, they gotta try to draw the crowd in.
That's so funny. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So that's who I don't even know if somebody told me like he's not interested, you've got to find a new actor. Like, I don't know. I can't even think of another blonde actor. I mean, I know they can dye their hair, but can't even think of
Yeah,
another like blonde famous guy actor.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. Just nobody's blonde, I guess.
No blondes anymore.
No, apparently not. It's not a popular hair color for movie stars, apparently.
So you and I are done then. No,
Yeah,
no
we're
movie
done,
star
I
for
guess.
for us.
You'll stick to softball, I have to stick to podcasting, and no movie stars, no Hollywood.
It works for me.
Yeah, yeah, I don't need the Hollywood scene. It's too much. Well, thanks for joining me on this episode of the podcast. You have a very interesting journey. So I'm glad you were able to share it. And I think experiences like ones you've had, kind of the journey you've had to go through where you've had to change your path multiple times, you had to readjust, you had to deal with mental stressors, physical injuries, and all that. I think they're good stories to get out there for people to hear, so when other people have struggles, they can kind of know, well, somebody else got through it, I can get through it. And so I think they're good stories to get out there and share to the world.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's definitely, I totally agree with that. Like, I feel like going through all of this, I did feel like a bit alone. Like, I didn't really have any other athletes that have gone through the same thing. So kind of trying to figure it out on my own was definitely difficult. But like what you said, getting it out and having people know that injuries and mental health and just health conditions in general is normal to experience, and it's tough, it really is, but at the end of the day it's out of my control, and I guess there's nothing really more that you can do other than just stay positive and stay motivated.
Right. I think that's the biggest thing. What you said there is it's out of your control, and people don't think about that. They beat themselves up. Was talking about this in the last episode with the last guest, but you really can't control how your body is, and injuries, they usually just they happen. So to be able to talk about it and to know somebody else has experienced it can help you work through it mentally, because that's the hardest part. I mean, yeah, there can be a lot of pain with injuries, and recovery can be very hard, but it's that mental side. The brain is so stubborn, the brain is so we're all our own worst enemies, so
Yeah, absolutely, I totally
it's
agree.
nice to know you're not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for letting me share that story with you.
Yeah, of course.